Hello and welcome to this week's business segment here on the Morning Call. I am Amelia Martha Nakitimbo. Now, Rwanda's Paul Kagame has passed on tours of the chairpersonship of the African Union to Egypt's Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and one of the highlights of his presidency was the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement, which is simply intended to improve the trade and movement of people between African countries and thus facilitating growth and the continent's GDP. Now, this plan looks good on paper, and I'm surprised by how long it's taking the continent's leaders to buy into it, especially since, well, every leader might say that they want to see Africa's development in different sectors. And one would expect that the agreement would come into force during the just concluded 32nd AU summit in Addis Ababa, but there's no quorum yet. The agreement is just 4 countries shy of coming into force. So far, 18 out of the required 22 countries have agreed to the ratification. However, it should be noted that out of these, only 9 have already deposited their instruments. So what does it mean when my country agrees to the ratification? A member of Botswana asked this question when their Minister of Trade and Industry announced Botswana's new status as the 51st signatory this week. And that's a good accountability question to ask, because you're part of the story and you're one of the 1.2 billion people counted for negotiations, and you also make part of the combined gross GDP of USD 1.2 trillion, which is expected to grow with implementation of this agreement. Now, take an example of the Republic of Congo, which reportedly has 23 million hectares of forest cover granted for logging. The law is such that 70% of this is processed at home for the benefit of the country, and 30% is imported. But that 70% is still high for a country of just about 4 million people. The population does not offer enough market for the wood products, and thus Congo mainly exports wood to China and parts of Europe. With this agreement, Congo should be able to find a larger local market for her wood on the continent, and in turn, Congo could gain easy access to fresh food and fruits on the continent, as opposed to importing bread, Irish potatoes, and other canned foods all the way from France and elsewhere. But there will be challenges to the implementation, of course. The reluctance of AU member states to ratify this agreement points to one of those challenges, that is, delays. For instance, there's need for economic infrastructure to ease the said movement of goods and people from country to country. And that means connecting roads, railway networks, and reducing the exorbitant air transport costs. The new AU president has mentioned that he will continue some of the reforms advanced by his predecessor. It's not okay, he has hinted on some of which. He has talked about fighting terrorism and ending fighting on the continent. In the meantime, another challenge is that Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, remains defiant about even signing the agreement. But the pressure is on. And that's all I had for you this week. You can share your thoughts on our social media handles at Africanews and Africanews FR, or you can reach me on my personal handle at Amelia Martha 1. Now, I take you to Elaine and Hanan. I saw you nodding
because I feel like you've explored like some very interesting avenues for this discussion about, you know, the free trade agreement and how it's going to affect and positively the different African economies.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like the challenge usually is that when these things are being talked about, they kind of remain high or remain in Addis, and we also don't engage ourselves to see, where do I fit in this story, and what do I do to ensure that when the implementation is taking place, I'm ready, and how do I contribute to this story?
And how you'll gain into it.
Yes.
And as you've mentioned, even the Botswana people are asking their minister, like, I'd want to know how Kenya is will be able to gain and will positively impact to make African Union a better and be able to get our GDP higher. I'd really want to know that. And also, one of the biggest concerns that we have until now is, why hasn't Nigeria signed,
and you
ratified
mentioned
it till now?
And as much as they're reluctant, we're just hoping that they're going to jump on the bandwagon, because I do feel like the rest of the continent needs Nigeria to be on board. Je pense que le Nigeria a absolument besoin de participer à cet accord de libre-échange, parce que c'est la plus grande économie de l'Afrique et qu'elle fait partie intégrante du continent et qu'on en a besoin pour que c'est un effet beaucoup plus important sur le continent. I do think that, hopefully, they're gonna follow suit.
And you at home can also share your thoughts on what you think about this. And that's it for the business segment this week. I'm Amelia Martha Nakitimbo. Goodbye.